How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. I think you start, right?
Whoever wants to. Ms. Williams, I want to ask you about your plans for getting back on the debate stages. If you think that is a critical part of moving up and securing the nomination, or is there anything that you're going to change about your candidacy to make the debate stage?
No, I hope to be able to rank higher in 4 polls, 2% in 4 polls. I need 3 more so that I can make it into the debate in October. Certainly that's my hope, but that's not the ultimate determiner. The ultimate determiner is the energy of the voters, what people on the ground are saying, whether or not they're attending your talks, their energy, their money. That's what ultimately determines it. So I hope I'll be back, I hope. But hopefully this, whether or not you get on a debate stage is a moment in time. It's important. I'm not minimizing it, but it's not the ultimate determiner of anything.
And if you don't make the October debate, will you be reevaluating your campaign?
Once again, all of this should be in the hands of the voters. In the voters, not the DNC and not you guys. It should be in the hands of the voters. It's like when people ask me in New Hampshire, I say, it's not up to me, it's up to you. It's up to the people of Iowa. I mean, this is how it should be. This is democracy. And so let's see how that plays out. If the people, I think sometimes that as voters, we need to remember that we get to make our own decisions. You know, Trump supporters didn't care what the Republican establishment said. You know, they did their own thing. And I think that we need a little more of that rambunctiousness among Democrats. You know, if you have article after article leading with long shot candidate, if you have article after article describing you as a long shot, then that's a narrative that starts imprinting itself upon people's brains. If you have an article after article saying, well, of course you couldn't win, it starts imprinting itself upon people's brains. I think people are waking up to the fact that that's all strategized. That's all purposeful. You know, when people talk about political outsiders, what does that even mean? This is America. We're all insiders. You know, the Constitution doesn't speak about even political parties. It doesn't speak about gatekeepers. There's supposed to be the absence of all that in America. So I think that people are starting to wake up to that. You know, the voters are the ones who should decide all of this. And I believe that media and political institutions should facilitate that process, not dictate that process.
So is that committed to stay in until Iowa?
I'm staying at, listen, as long as the people are at my events, as long as I have the capacity, you know, as long as people are sending the money and going to Marianne 2020 and showing up at my events, and I have that relationship with voters going on, as long as I feel I have something to say and that others seem to want to hear it. You know, I read a book years ago that's always been a real guiding principle for me. A man named Arnold Patton said, if you genuinely have something you need to say, there's someone out there who genuinely needs to hear it. That is what I feel going on. I feel that our campaign is discussing things that are not being discussed elsewhere. Tulsi Gabbard and I are the only 2 people even talking about the U.S. war machine. What is going on in this country? We're not even talking about the loss of America's moral authority around the world. We're not talking about the fact that the United States is not standing up to champion democracy around the world. We're not talking about traumatized children. We're just normalizing their despair. There are too many things not being talked about. So you think one night that I don't get to be on a debate stage is going to shut me up about those things? Then you don't know who I am if you think that.
Ms. Williams, I want to ask you about your tweets about the hurricane, Hurricane Dorian, and that you kind of clarified that, and and you said that the Democratic Party is losing people because of mocking spirituality and things like that. I mean, people criticize you for saying that spirituality turned the force of a hurricane away from the mainland. I mean, do you have any comments about that?
First of all, I did not say that. I didn't say that. You know, when I was growing up, there was a vital religious left, the Berrigan brothers and William Sloane Coffin. And over the last few decades, the language of so much of the left has become so secular, to the point where many people in this country feel condescended towards, patronized for their religious faith. I don't know what kind of science these people think that they're upholding, because it's very obsolete Newtonian physics. It's not quantum physics. Quantum physics, it's almost like people of faith. Actually, the furthest regions of science are on our side now. Science, the highest regions of science and faith are not in any way incompatible. 90% of Americans say they believe in God. Those of us who are people of faith are not stupid. We're not, some people seem to think we have fewer brain cells. We're informed. I believe in science. There is nothing about my faith that is counter to what I know about science, or medicine for that matter. And even more to the point, this is not helping when people, now I'm not saying all the Democratic Party does this, but I'm saying enough Democrats do it, that it makes a lot of people feel that their values are not honored here. Is that how you think we're going to win in 2020? I mean, what is this? Why sometimes, I feel that that the Republicans have these very elitist policies, but in a weird way, an almost more egalitarian relationship to its own constituency. Whereas Democrats definitely have the more egalitarian policies, but almost this elitist relationship to its own constituency. Like, what? If we don't see it the way you do, we don't belong here? You're going to deride us, tell us to shut up? What is going on in this country? A smug, self-righteous, intolerant left-winger is no less dangerous to the emotional fabric of this country than is a smug, self-righteous, intolerant right-winger. And if we want to win in 2020, and we all fervently want to win in 2020, we have to realize you can't just talk to people, the people who are passionately supporters of Trump, they're going to vote for Trump. People who are passionately in support of a Democrat, no matter who they are going to vote for us. That's not where the race will be decided. We need to talk to millions of people who did not vote last time, millions of people who voted for Jill Stein, and millions of people, I believe, who voted for the president, but are concerned enough that they are open. But if you think making them feel, particularly in places like the South, that their religious faith, it makes them in any way less intelligent, good luck with that. Whatever genius came up with that plan was not the strategist you want on your side.
So why do you feel like you are the candidate to appeal to those voters?
Well, because it's where I live inside my own heart. I'm a progressive Democrat because of my spiritual values. And I do believe, President Eisenhower said that the American mind at its best is both liberal and conservative. What we're talking about today with President Trump is not conservative, it's this corporatist agenda. But I believe there are a lot of conservatives. I hear it so much. I can't tell you how many people say, I'm a conservative, but I vote for you. I voted for Trump, but I would vote for you. People want to feel their values validated. The part of the brain that rationally analyzes an issue is not the part of the brain necessarily that decides who to vote for. So when Democrats are and I've heard it for years, Democrats saying, we had them on the issues, why didn't we win? There are issues underneath issues, and that's how people feel, whether or not they feel seen and whether or not they feel respected. And I feel that many people recognize and appreciate the moral argument that I'm making. I think Democrats are already very clear and are making the argument that the agenda of the president is basically unethical and immoral. But we need to do more than that. We need to do more than say we want to be moral. We have to have moral policies. And that's why neglecting millions of traumatized American children is also immoral. So we have to stand for traumatized children. We have to stand and be peacemakers. We have to have a deep conversation about racial reconciliation. We have to recognize how not just dysfunctional it is, but malfunctional it is, what we are doing to our own habitat, the earth on which we live. So I believe that I'm having a conversation that reaches into the area of values in a way that even conservatives can appreciate. And I know that because they tell me so all the time.
When you mentioned about the smug, self-righteous left-winger, were you thinking in particular of any of your Democratic rivals?
No, not my rivals, no. I think, of course, you don't know who's working for what campaign. But no, I have a lot of respect for the other candidates. It's been a real joy getting to know them. And I feel very confident that once this nominee is chosen, whether it's me or anyone else, we're going to all be on the team and we're going to all make this happen. It's been a joy getting to know some of these people. It's great, actually. They're wonderful people.
traditional Democrats tend to support traditional Democratic candidates, and many people might not consider you to be a traditional Democratic candidate. What are you doing, if anything, to recruit your natural constituency that might not necessarily go to a caucus or vote in a primary? Are you trying to expand out, bring in new voters into Iowa and New Hampshire?
First of all, I think I am the traditional Democrat. I'm the Bobby Kennedy Democrat. I'm the Eugene McCarthy Democrat. I'm the FDR Democrat. I'm not saying I'm the only one, but what some people call the traditional Democrats today are not actually the traditional Democrats. If you go back to the tradition of FDR and the tradition of the Kennedys, et cetera. I'm not saying I'm the only one, but many of the people who say they're the traditional ones, I think are the kind of like, that's not the traditional Democratic Party. So I think I'm talking about going back to the traditional Democratic Party. In terms of the people that you're mentioning, this is important because this is much like the conversation about people of faith, even who are Republicans. This is what they did to Bernie last time. All these people who just wanted to come into the tent and were made to feel like they weren't welcome. You're going to do this again, guys? You're going to do this again, guys? You know, so yeah, I have a lot of people who support my campaign who have not had a lot of experience in politics, but I can't tell you, people say to me every day, I've never been involved in politics before, but you make me want to be. I've never voted in primary before, you want me to get in there. You're going to, like, deride that rather than say, oh, fabulous, we got more people. What are you talking about? And that's true of all of us who are considered, quote unquote, outsiders. That's just a power game.
Ms. Williamson, I talked with a number of New Hampshire voters last debate who felt like some of the candidates employed the language of President Donald Trump to form their arguments. They said that you did not. I wonder if that's something that you agree with, and also if you could just answer the question of win or lose, what you want the legacy of this campaign to be.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's say somebody voted for Trump, but they're thinking about it because they're disturbed. And I start talking about how bad Trump is. I'm shaming them. Is that going to make them want to vote for me? The American people do not need me to tell them who Trump is. I think it's obvious who Trump is. They don't need me to tell them what he's saying. I think it's obvious what he's saying. The people who are so excited about that, they're going to vote for him. The people who know anything but him, they're going to vote. We have to talk to people about something more exciting that's possible. We need to say to people, we have some big problems, but we also have unlimited capacity to solve them. That's a more uplifting conversation. I look forward to the day when we're not having to talk about Donald Trump anymore because he's off somewhere in Mar-a-Lago or wherever, right? And we don't have to think about it. That's how I feel about that. In terms of my legacy, you know, I'm living my legacy. I'm living it. I'm curious what they're saying about me today. And if they're saying about me today, well, she's talking about reparations. Well, we aren't. She's talking about traumatized children. She's not. She's talking about race. We're not. She's talking about the military-industrial complex. We're not. Am I making them sweat a little? Good. But I'm not doing this just to elevate the conversation. I'm not here for that. I want to help elevate America.
Speaking of reparations, what have you proposed about the global slavery trade that exists today as opposed to trying to right the wrong of the hundreds of years ago?
There is a slave trade in the world today. The United Nations, last estimate I read was that it's believed that there are about 6 million slaves on this planet. But that's not a result of activity of the U.S. government. So when I talk about reparations, I'm talking about the United States, and I'm talking about the legacy. You know, Germany has paid $89 billion to Jewish organizations since World War II. Now, that doesn't mean that the Holocaust didn't happen, but it has gone far toward establishing reconciliation between Germany and the Jews of Europe. And in 1988, Ronald Reagan signed the American Civil Liberties Act. And with that, of the surviving prisoners from the Japanese internment camps, each was given between $20,000 and $22,000. Economic restitution, the gap, and the video that is available on Marianne 2020, I hope that you'll look at it. We're talking about 250 years of slavery that was followed by another 100 years of institutionalized violence against black people in the United States. I want to help the United States not only navigate this turbulent moment, but but heal and move forward. And you cannot have the future you want if you're not willing to clean up the past. The transformation we need is on the level of values, on the level of ethics and morality. I think we'd all agree, if you've been kicking someone to the ground for 350 years, you have a moral responsibility to do more than stop kicking. You have a moral responsibility to say, here, let me help you get back up. The reason I want reparations as opposed to just quote-unquote race-based policies is because reparations carry with them an inherent mea culpa. There is an inherent acknowledgement of a wrong that has been done, a debt that is owed, and the willingness on the part of a people to pay it. I want to help this country put an aberrational chapter of our history to bed and start a new one.
But why have a priority of trying to correct something from 350 years ago when there are 6 billion people living in slavery around the world today?
First of all, the legacies of slavery continue to this day. The legacies of institutionalized racism, whether it has to do with mass incarceration, racial disparity in criminal sentencing, racial disparity in police engagement, racial disparity in economics in the United States. This is not a long-gone problem. This is a problem that continues to have tentacles that go generation to generation. Once again, the United States, we've done a lot wrong. We haven't done everything wrong. Not every problem in the world is our fault. So I'm not asking that the United States take responsibility for things that the United States is not doing.
What will you be doing on debate day?
Pardon? Well, I'll be in Los Angeles live streaming. So the debate is between 5 and 8 Pacific time, and then I come on and I'll put in my 2 cents worth on live stream on Marianne2020.com. So you can still hear me, you just can't hear me on the stage with the rest of them.
She'll be watching the debate.
Absolutely, I will. I wish everybody well. Okay? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.